done.
Gorgeous.
You want to try it on?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, where do you want to go?
Sorry.
Hi. How are you?
The space experience we know is potentially a transformative one. Astronauts that have come back from space in the last 40 or 50 years don't talk about their space experience for a few months or even a few years. They talk about it for the rest of their life, which is why we need to pay great attention to making sure that each element of the customer journey is as good as it possibly can be.
The greatest challenge is to not only live up to our customers' expectations, but to go beyond those expectations that our customers had, probably in some cases since they were a child.
I met this one individual who was a retired high school teacher, and he's always wanted to go to space. And he's a teacher. He's not, incredibly wealthy. He's put time and money and resources for this thing. And that to me was like, that's pretty important. Like, what we do here isn't for nothing. It's not frivolous.
We have a bold, audacious goal, and we realize that we can't do that on our own. We need to find the best in class to help us achieve our mission. Under Armour has that unique capability. They've got years of utilizing technology and innovation. Those marginal gains in athletic performance.
Inherently, we're an innovation company, so we bring innovation to our athletes in apparel and in footwear. And so we looked at the melting point between a top-tier athlete and a future astronaut, and where do they need to be, and how do we best suit their needs.
So at the beginning, we're trying to work out what kind of materials do we need to utilize to make sure that we can provide the ultimate level of comfort and temperature regulation for our customers.
But once we started understanding the flight profile and what conditions were going to be during the flight profile, temperatures, humidity, and then we started looking at what materials do we want to use. And so we really wanted that same feeling to transcend from technical fitness apparel into these flight suits.
We believe at Virgin Galactic that our mission, or our future astronauts' mission, is to go up into space and to look back on Earth with their own eyes and have that transformative experience that we know people who go to space have.
It's a very big commitment for these individuals. Some of them have waited over a decade for this to happen. And so how do we make a suit more personal?
The mission patch we've designed will have the irises from all the spaceflight participants on that mission, comprised and blended together, representing that shared vision at that moment when our future astronauts as a group looked back on Earth from space.
We really want these people to have this moment super special, and if we play a small part of that, then I think that's a huge win for us as a brand. I think when they put it on, I really hope that they feel like they're ready to go to space.
The flight suit, when customers put it on for the first time, needs to be a very visible sense, the start of transformation. They're going to look like they have never looked before. They're going to feel like they have never felt before. The 600 customers that we have already signed up, that will mean that it's a flight suit which has been more than any other space flight suit in history, and that is incredible.
I just want to say thank you very much for coming. What an incredible performance that was. Can we give them a round of applause, please? I'd like to have done it myself, but yeah, I think the coordination was definitely not one of my strong points. So watch out for anybody else who's in the spaceship with me. Stephen, Kevin Plank, would you like to come up? Who runs Under Armour, as everybody I think here knows.
Welcome, Kevin.
That was fantastic. Thank you, Richard. Congratulations. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Hello, Stephen.
Hey,
nice
Kevin.
to see you. So we wanted to kick off as we're the ones that partnered with Virgin in order to get the kit made. And so within that, I wanted to give a special, and Richard already has his suit, which I think looks terrific, by the way. And I know how hard you've worked to make sure that everything underneath is as terrific as the suit itself as well. And
I wouldn't want to let your suit down.
No, we've got the suit, of course, which comes with the mission patch, just like when you leave it from the suit, you'll have this jacket for the astronauts afterwards, and they'll have their country patch, of course. And we made this one especially for Richard. If maybe you'll give me a hand here. But if you see the mission of flight that's on the back or that we use throughout this, we've actually made this one with small little spaceships of the mission of flight that actually are a personalized version for Richard himself. So
All you have to do is buy a ticket to space. you get this thrown in. I mean, it can't be bad.
4 of them for $1 million is just fine. So anyway, thank you. So we'll have that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Hi, Kevin. And I just want to say to everybody here, and also people watching online, so we have some of our 600 customers from around the world who are watching this, as well as our amazing teams in Mojave and New Mexico and London. So welcome to everybody as well. And I just want to say on behalf of Richard and everybody at Virgin Galactic, you know, what we revealed just now, I think has surpassed our expectations by a factor. So thank you. Amazing.
Thank you very much, Stephen. And honestly, congratulations to the teams and everyone live streaming in right now. Is the amount of work and effort that's gone into, Richard, your vision for this entire project, the team that you've assembled and put together, it's really extraordinary. And all that thought and time and energy and science that's gone on to bringing commercial space flight is really extraordinary. And on behalf of the more than 14,000 teammates at Under Armour who have the privilege to be a part of this, especially the working team at the sharpest point of our brand, the highest point of innovation. Congratulations to them, and you'll see we're just getting started with this venture.
You know, I can remember just taking a step back, Kevin, the first time that I spoke to you on the phone from London and your team. You know, there was a palpable sense of enthusiasm and excitement. I mean, we didn't have to sell this too hard, I think, too, which was terrific. And my sense was that this is something that had been on your radar for a while. And I know you and Richard have known each other for a little while. So I just wondered whether there was a backstory here, you know, whether you know, your relationship with Richard, you know, how that happened and how this idea first took fruition.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, I'd been maybe pitching for this to Under Armour to be the brand that could make the kit to go to space. And so it began with really a friendship, really probably more than nearly a decade ago.
That's why you were friends with me.
I was warming up to you for spacesuits. This is true. And it really it started with the idea of what commercial space travel would be, and Richard sort of laying the vision out. And I think it was a very simple conversation where I said, well, what are they going to wear? And the first reaction was, well, it'll be enclosed capsule, and they should be able to just go in. And I think that's where we entered into, there's probably a much more complexity to it, and a few more things that we've gotten in the process that, whether variability and whether it's the ability to keep the astronauts comfortable the entire time. Of course, safety always is the head of it, but really the ability for them also to have something that reminds them of this experience. And so mobility, pliability, flexibility are the things that really we built into this suit to make it unlike any other flight suit that are typically canvas and very stiff and hard to wear. And so as you noticed, and it's just as on display, the innovation that is Under Armour is something that we're able to pour into this suit coming to life.
And look at those boots. I mean, they're quite simple.
Yes, that is a...
Richard, many of us, I think, recognise your commitment to wearing the right thing at the right time over the years. I can recall actually seeing you in a wedding dress at some stage, and also, if you
don't-
dare to look behind you. I don't want to spoil your days, but and also I think you
You can
once.
see why that company didn't work out.
And I can also remember seeing a picture of you
It's called
as,
Virgin Brides, and there weren't any. That was the reason, not the picture. But anyway.
as a female cabin crew, looking particularly good there. I don't know whether you want to comment on those stories or not, but nevertheless, I think you're also famed for ensuring people are not distracted or made uncomfortable by what they're wearing, particularly in the
I
working
think you can
environment.
put that picture down.
Yeah, that's supposed to go off very quickly.
Yeah, that was a bet I had with somebody called Tony Fernandez, who had a racing team. We had a racing team. Anyway, his racing team won, and so I had to fly on his airline and serve on his airline rather than him flying on my airline, which I was expecting, and as a stewardess and serving on ours. But I did get my revenge. So I got he was smug, being interviewed by lots of people and sitting in upper class while I was serving him. But somehow the 15 glasses of orange slipped and went over his lap. So anyway, I got fired pretty quickly.
So on a more serious note, I mean, in terms of, I mean, Virgin's also always, I think, had, we don't wear ties, clearly, and that's one of the things that we didn't put on our spacesuit. But also the way that Virgin Atlantic and the other airlines have gone about designing uniforms has been very driven by the people that are going to wear them, I think, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you say take Virgin Atlantic as an example, 36 years ago this year, we got together in a room, 800 of our new staff, and then we got a designer on stage, Elizabeth Emmanuel, and she literally went through, right, do you want the skirt here, here, or here? Well, obviously I said there, but the girls went for there, and so thumbs up, thumbs down. They effectively designed their own suits, and with this, I mean, the team at Under Armour have worked day and night for about 2 years on this project, and again, they've been, they flew to Morocco when I was there to, sort of to do a test and they, see, get any feedback, and it was only actually positive feedback, but yeah, we've got the lead designer down there who's just brilliant, and
He's going to be talking to us in a second.
Nick, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And and part of that process, as we'll hear about later, was to, because this amazing group of future astronauts, we were able to go out to those people as well and get feedback, and that was built into the design process. So that was really important. Kevin, I mean, I've really enjoyed working with your team, and when we come to Baltimore, to your amazing headquarters, it's like walking into a Virgin office in many ways, and I was wondering, what is it about Under Armour and the way that you've set it up and the way that you think about life that has enabled you to envision a completely new spacesuit? Because this, when we think about spacesuits, we think about Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong, and this is completely different. And so how are you able to envision this and motivate your teams to go and do it?
Well, the team really jumped on the opportunity, and if we could just give great credit to them, is that, like anything, there's an ethos and there's a culture of the brand that's behind it. And for Under Armour, it means that anytime anyone participates with our brand or puts Under Armour on, the idea isn't just a shirt or a shoe, it's a gift, and that gift is a superpower. And we're supposed to empower that individual with the ability that they just got better, they just got stronger, they just got faster, they just got the ability to jump a little higher. And that feeling of strength and overcoming and perseverance and through is something that's so defining of our brand. So when I was able to come home and take sort of the opportunity that Richard gave us, and with that phone call, Stephen, that, when we received it, it was absolutely. And to then go to the team and say, I think I said yes by the end of the call. And then, of course, I called the team. I said, great news. You guys are going to build spacesuits. And, they're optimistic. We need them in about 6 months to a year. Maybe we can push that a little bit. And so we went back and forth with some of this of what the requirements would take from the materials that are out there, the understanding of this. And I think the real genius of the culture of Under Armour that, of course, is built and enforced by our team and the amazing team who did this. And you'll hear from Nick and Randy and Clay and the team that has, really driven and put this together. But they approached it just like one of our typical uniform deals. And they started with looking and saying, understanding the sport, understanding the needs of the athlete, understanding the extreme conditions they'd go through, understanding the ways that we can attack that and solve what others may have seen as problems, but seeing that as an opportunity to overcome it with technology. And for us, what's really cool about these suits is we're utilizing about 8 current commercial Under Armour technologies within all of these, from the hover that goes in our shoes that you'll see in our running or our basketball shoes, the hover midsole technology where we partnered with Dow Chemical, and how we able to build something that would be space capable, all the way to the IntelliNet design that goes into the base layer, to the cold gear reactor that we have that goes into the upper of the jackets themselves and into the suit, and the hover that we then built into these panels that when they're strapped into the spacesuit to keep them comforted on the side. So everything about the experience, beginning with the end in mind, and the amount of attention to detail is something that we're very proud to say to our team, is that they can build suits that go to space. And for our consumer, the same innovation technology in a spacesuit is available about 100 yards that way at Dick's Sporting Goods if you want to try to commercialize and wear this brand and this dream. And that's sort of what everything Under Armour should be. Again, going back to that little girl or little boy feeling like when they wear Under Armour, they can do anything. So articulating through space is a powerful message for our brand.
Thank you.
Before Stephen asks his next question, he's not normally an interviewer. 15 years ago today, he was the first person to join Virgin Galactic, been unbelievable over those last 15 years. 15 years, bloody hell. We thought it would take about 7 before we were sitting here, but anyway, but it's been fun.
Actually, that's a pretty good segue into my next question, actually, because I was going to say you've been eagerly anticipating this flight for a few years now. Actually more than 15, because I think when we were celebrating the 50 years of the moon landings a few months ago, you said that's when it happened. So, and it's now tantalizingly close, and this is a sign of it. So, one of the things that I know you told us and our other future astronauts told us was that they want to take personal items to space, and there are some cleverly concealed pockets around this amazing spacesuit to accomplish that. So, are you going to let us into any secrets about what you're going to take up?
Certainly won't take up a camera. Certainly won't take up a phone. Fortunately, we've got we've got lots and lots of cameras and equipment to capture people's flights. So, I just think you're just going to want to look out of the window and take it all in. I think, like anybody in this room, I would take up, actually most of you don't have grandchildren, I'll take up my pictures of my 5 grandchildren, I'll take up pictures of my children, Sam and Holly, pictures of my delightful wife, Joan, and pictures of my mum, so, and my dad, although he's no longer, but, yeah, so they would be tucked away somewhere.
Yeah. Cool. And I just had one final question, actually, for you, Kevin, which is, are we ever going to see you wearing a spacesuit?
I've now tried and fitted. The team has committed to give me one, but yes, to take one on that journey. I can't wait to go to space some point in the future.
Brilliant.
And there is a pocket on the inside for those personal effects right here that actually put right over your heart, where you take those pictures of family and loved ones, and there's a clear image that goes right over the top of your heart, and so you always have them close, and they'll be able to see you. So yes, we've solved for that too.
Amazing. And although you're going to need to go to space in order to wear one, I think we do have some plans in the partnership actually to make some derivatives of these products, which people will be able to buy at some stage, collections. Yeah.
Of course. Well done, Stephen. Let's get to the commercial side. UA.com, please. But we actually...
It's a t-shirt today, isn't it?
We have some shirts available online today that actually the shirts that we're wearing now, which again, if you explain the logo and see, Richard's eye that's here as well, which goes back to the Virgin logo, and then the history of flight on the back of the T-shirt today too, and of course built with Under Armour charged cotton technology that goes into it too. And like everything we do, it'll keep you lighter and cooler and stronger and breathing. But the symbol of this, I think, is really a landmark moment. This is a big deal. This is a big deal for our brand to be involved. This is a big deal for all the teams, all the people, the humans that have put so much to sort of changing our perspective on on humanity. So we're thrilled to be able to, commercialize this in a way that'll allow us to be able to build something, to put more resources into it, to do a better job with the next suits, and the same thing with commercial flight. And so hopefully we can inspire people to, get behind this initiative and understand why it's so important as we continue to press the limits. And I'm fortunate to have, a friend like Richard Branson, who's someone who's always pushed the edges, so hard on life and humanity, and makes us all sort of ask for more and look at ourselves and say, why not? And so we asked that together today, and there's going to be some great kit that's going to come out as a result of this too. So we'll continue to dream the same way that you dreamed this original vision, Richard.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to bring now some of the guys that have been working on this, and also somebody very special who I'll introduce in a moment. So please, a round of applause for Kevin and Richard. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
And I'd like to welcome on the stage Beth Moses.
Not going to do that.
Just don't pass on the stairs. Beth, as many of you will know, is our chief astronaut trainer, and she is also an astronaut. So welcome, Beth.
Thank you.
I'd also like to welcome on stage Nick Chinsky from Under Armour. He's their product innovation designer. I think that's right. And lastly, our very own Tom Westray, our creative director. Tom, come up on stage. So Nick, let's start with you. You were the guy that once we'd had that call with Kevin, we've just been talking about, I think he probably gave you a call and said, we've got this amazing task. I mean, I'd love to hear what your feeling was when you got that call. What were your immediate reactions? And then really a little bit about, what it was it like to design something that, as you said very eloquently on the movie, was, going to represent perhaps the most important moments in somebody's life?
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I think when we got the call to take on this challenge, at Under Armour we are 14,000 strong, and we're all innovators. We're all love to sort of push ourselves beyond the boundaries. This, however, was new for us. We were not expecting this, and so to rise into this challenge is something that we love to do. And for me personally, as a designer, it was obviously I've never been to space. Making a spacesuit was completely new for me, but I think one of the things that we loved about the brief was it was unexpected and it was difficult, and it was all the things that pushed us as a brand into unknown places, and I think that's where we excel. So it was fun.
And actually, that's a good lead to something I want to ask you, Tom. Was you were the guy responsible from Virgin Galactic for putting that brief together, and so how did you start doing that?
So the first thing was assembling the team we required, and we're fortunate enough at Virgin Galactic to have a world-class team, so it's not hard to find the right individuals. And assembling that started off with people who had experience with suits, and we've got our pilot corps who have worn suits like this every day for decades, and so they've got fantastic insight on comfort and functionality required. Then we have Beth, our chief astronaut trainer, who obviously has unrivaled, invaluable experience, especially since she's been to space. We had our customer team, and I think like any good Virgin company, we know our customers so well, and it's not just market research, it's proper human insight that we have with those customers. And so with that, we paired that with the medical stuff we needed, our flight surgeon and flight doctor. And then once we had that team assembled, then it was getting to work with what we wanted. And I think we provided a brief where we knew what we wanted, and when we met Under Armour, they immediately gave us a sense that they knew how to do it, they knew how to deliver it. And I think the most amazing part of the partnership for me, apart from today, was after we first met you guys in Mojave. You guys came back with a prototype 4 weeks later, and we were pretty astonished with how quickly you turned that around. And getting the piece into 3 dimensions as quickly as possible was so valuable. So that's where we kicked off.
And Beth, I know you were an important member of that group, a very important member of that group, because not only have you now gone to space, and we'll talk about that in a moment, but when we first started that process, you weren't an astronaut, but you had been working with astronauts for many years. So you sort of bridged that world between the astronauts of the past and astronauts of the future. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, as has been mentioned, the team formed quickly and saw a prototype quickly, and the big difference between suits of the past and this suit is that those suits were to perform a task, and this suit is to enjoy and savor space on your own terms in a bespoke way. The challenge of the brief was to not get too nitty-gritty technical and overwork the experience that way, but to make sure that once folks are trained and fly in this suit, it sort of stays out of their way and they can savor the experience.
And in February, of course, you became the first person to a crew member on a commercial spaceship to float free in the cabin. And I know, the video looks like you're having a lot of fun, which I'm sure you were, but you also had a long task list, and part of that was, making sure that what Under Armour was designing for us was fit for purpose. So, anything you'd like to share in terms of the findings from that flight?
Yeah, absolutely. As you mentioned, I had a strict timeline, and the feedback from that flight has been roped into the iterations of the suit. One of the tasks is to integrate all the different pieces of the system, not just the suit, but the seat, the harness, the cabin. And so some of the things that we were looking at on that flight were essentially the cabin can serve as your helmet. And where do the seat belts lie? And exactly how does that all integrate nicely so that you can, again, savor the spaceflight experience?
And we mentioned earlier that that was part of the testing, and we've reached out to the breadth and depth of the organisation to make sure that we got the brief right, and that we as the prototypes have come through, we've retested them against the original brief and up to date knowledge. And one of the important considerations was what our customers told us, and I know Tom, you were monitoring that, and there were some surprises, some things we knew, but some things we didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm constantly wowed by our astronaut office who look after our customers. They know our customers inside out. And so that got us off to a really good start. But obviously it was invaluable to hear from the customers themselves. And besides the obvious things like comfort, personalization, and actually personalization is an important one because I think we knew it is important, but we didn't quite realize how important it was. So not only be recognized as a group, but also an individual. And so we've made a lot of features on the suit to make sure that you have country flag or flags if you want to represent more than one nation. You have your name badge, the photos that Kevin and Richard talked about. Inside, you have a place where you can write your personal mission statement, because obviously the reason why people go to space is so important to us and to them as well. And so when we looked at those, when we'd done the personalization things, then one key difference, and I think it was one of the interesting things for me, and I used this analogy of a wedding dress. So we realized that this suit is created for this one day, and it's such a huge moment, like a wedding dress, but then you don't really know what to do with it after you've worn it for that day. So reusability was a huge part, and me and Nick often joked about the family barbecue, where you turn up wearing your full astronaut suit and space boots, and we thought that was probably a little too much. So that's where the inspiration for the flight jacket came, which is a fantastic piece, and I think it allows our customers to not have to wear their full suit, but be able to use it in social situations as a celebration of their flight and a reminder of that suit.
Fantastic. Nick, I think what we should do now is, we talked a lot about some of these features, but it would be great for you. We've got mannequins on stage. Actually, maybe to take us through, some of those design features, so we can sort of understand a little bit more how some of these ideas are actually incorporated into the garments.
Thanks. Yeah, I think the biggest thing to understand is that this is actually a system. The base layer is the first part of this system, and as you saw the dancers move around in them this morning, the top is actually made with a salient yarn, so it actually promotes blood flow, and so it also mitigates humidity and heat. The bottoms are made out of a very interesting yarn that provides a very comfortable squeeze around your legs, and that was done on purpose so that when you are in G-force, you keep some of the blood up above your waist, and you are more comfortable. This whole kit underneath, which we can get into more detail later, really needed to work on the upper, and we talked a lot about comfort and mobility and temperature regulation. The whole inside of the suit is actually lined with a very unique sustainable wood pulp yarn that evacuates heat very well. It's how one layer works with the next layer to make sure that the wearer is constantly comfortable. Being mobile, once you do have your moment in space to enjoy it, as Beth was talking about, when you look at the suit in detail, you look at the sleeves and the lower back through the legs, there are lots of places that we built a lot of articulation and use of stretch materials. The whole suit is actually a tricot versus a woven, so it does give you an inherent stretchability of the suit, so you have more freedom of movement. And that was our biggest challenge that we wanted to overcome, was once you get into space and you have the moment to float around inside the cabin, how can we make sure, as Kevin talked, how can we make sure that what we've built and what we've provided for you has zero distractions? So you can be totally in your moment, enjoying your moment, taking the time to really enjoy your moment, not worrying about I'm too hot, I'm too cold. Just watching over heat mitigation. One morning, these future astronauts are going to wake up and they're going to walk down a tarmac, get in a spaceship, go to space. And they've been thinking about it since childhood, in many cases. And they're going to be nervous. They're going to be perspiring. How do we make sure that our system is working from that moment all the way through flight into outer space, or into space, and then back down again, and keeping people safe and comfortable? So, huge challenge. Again, I think we did a lot of work around it, and it was a ton of fun.
Any particular features that you're super proud of?
I think Tom mentioned the little tab inside where people can write their mission statement. It was sort of an idea that sort of popped into my head, and I thought it'd be kind of cool to do something like that. And I think it's a very small thing, but I think it's super important, because I think people who have been thinking about this for a long time know why they want to go to space. It wasn't just to go. There was a bigger reason. And how do you make that bigger reason part of your suit? And that makes the suit only your suit. And I think that was one of the small things that, to me, as a designer and sort of an innovator around the suit, doesn't seem like much, but I think it's really, really important.
I'd like to throw in something. You do come back changed in a really positive way. And I love the fact that before you fly, you can sit here like this. But if you want to, after you fly, you can choose to be more global about how you present yourself.
Thank you.
Well said.
Beth, I've finished with you, actually, I think. No, I haven't finished with you. I'm going to finish with you. It's been a phenomenal year at Galactic. You've been a very central part of that. We flew to space for the first time in December. We did it again 10 weeks later. We've moved the teams, including you and your family, down to New Mexico. We've opened the spaceport, which is now an operational, first purpose-built commercial spaceport in the world, and lots of very exciting things happening. And so just in terms of what happens with these suits next, as we get them ready for our customers to wear, can you just enlighten us on that?
Yes, absolutely. They'll go into detailed testing in an integrated environment, seats, cabin mock-ups, and then, of course, be worn by our mission specialists to test them in space and refine them even further so that they're perfectly purpose-built.
Fantastic. I think that's a good spot to actually finish with you. So we're going to move on to the last session, and the most exciting, not the most exciting, but a really exciting session, which is actually to talk to some of our future astronauts here in the room as well. So thank you very much for joining us. And I'd now like to welcome on stage Jennifer and Trevor. Round of applause, round of applause. Take a seat, guys. So, as I said, we have around 600 customers now, 60 countries around the world. Some of them will be watching. 2 of them are here. So thank you very much, first of all, for joining us. Jen is from Canada. Trevor is a fellow Brit. I think, just to start off, before we start talking about the suits, just tell us a little bit, what motivated you to sign up with Virgin Galactic? When did you sign up? Just give us a little bit of background. Trevor first.
I signed up on in the Mojave Desert on the 5th of October 2004 when Galactic was a twinkle in Richard's eye.
Been here longer than me.
Just a bit, yeah. And I saw Brian Binney take Spaceship One to space for the second time to win the X Prize, and that was a moment. And so I put my name down then. So I became part of that community then. But I've always wanted to go to space. It's the only thing I've ever really wanted to do in my life, and since I was a child, and I have physical evidence of that here, which I'd like to show you. And hold my mic and juggle all at the same time. Thanks. This is my space project. It's the only surviving object I have from my childhood. And it contains interesting things like handwriting. Remember handwriting? And I wrote this, as I say, I think I was 12. And I fancied myself as a genuine expert on space. It took me months and months to create it. And importantly, at the back, I had a little space which I left, if I could stop shaking, which was entitled What of the Future? And I left a little space there. And in that space, I'd always wanted to have a news cutting of the day that I went to space. I would put that in alongside. Thank you. Because it would go alongside the return of 13, which is a lovely moment from a while back. And I was so proud of this that one day when I met Buzz Aldrin, I got Buzz to regrade my project. My teacher had only given me a B+, which I thought was pathetic, given the quality of my handwriting alone. And Buzz Aldrin gave me an A+ and signed it upon 11. So other kids wanted to be footballers and pop stars, and I only ever wanted to go to space. So
Fantastic.
today I find today quite emotional. I'm quite moved by. I didn't expect to be as moved by today as I am, but I find it quite emotional.
Thank you.
And thanks to everyone for making it happen.
Jen. I'm sort of tempted to say, follow that.
I know, well, I can't. No, it's an amazing story. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. Like Stephen said, I'm from Canada. I am a mum of 3. I'm a huge outdoor enthusiast. I love to maximize life experience, and I've been a part of the Galactic community for the past 10 years. And to be a part of this journey has been life-changing for me. Similar to Trevor, I've wanted to go to space and have been fascinated with the solar system since I was a child. And in this process of being able to support the commercialization of space and being a pioneer in that journey has been exceptional. And I am thrilled to help support pushing those parameters of knowing what is possible for non-trained professionals to go to space and all of the learning that is generated from that. And to be a small part of that journey is exceptional.
Fantastic. I know, I mean, it's obvious you've been both eagerly anticipating this, this experience for some time. In Trevor's case, for all your life. I wondered to what extent you had ever thought about what you would be wearing. You know, whether it formed part of your anticipation and vision for the flight. So, any comments on that?
For me, it wasn't necessarily just the suit. It was the experience holistically, and the suit makes a giant part of that. We were lucky enough to see the suits yesterday and be a part of the design process. That's one of the things that the Galactic team has been exceptional with, is always putting the customer first for any sort of experience. It is in the forefront of every single decision that they make. So we were really a part of the design process and providing feedback of different elements that we would like to see in the suit. And it was pretty cool to see it yesterday. I love them. I think the blue and the pop of gold is exceptional. I love the customization elements. And I love, as I think Kevin was saying, the customization pocket in the middle by the heart. That is pretty special.
Yeah, I think that the suits have always been kind of subliminally there. That in the story of space, the most famous photograph ever taken in the world is a photograph of a spacesuit. You know, Buzz Aldrin happens to be inside it, but a lot of people don't even know that. They think it's Neil. And it's a remarkable photograph. It's the iconic photograph of our lifetime, and it's a spacesuit. And so everything has always been there from Barbarella through Buzz to Tron. And I like to think there's an element of all of that in this suit. You know, it's a spacesuit should always be futuristic, even though it's of now, and so it contains sci-fi elements, which is sweet, and it's bloody cool, isn't it? That's always important. So you're doing a cool thing. It pays to look cool in every sense of the word. So it's a bit special, isn't it? I like it.
I know that you both contributed to feedback on the suit when we were making this with Under Armour, and I did take a sneak preview of what you said, and I think both of you are actually very keen to own the suits afterwards. So I'm wondering, where are you going to wear them and when?
Every Halloween for the rest of my life, obviously. And joking aside, like I said, I have 3 kids, and I'm really keen to be involved in their school programs, out speaking about my experience and sharing my knowledge of being a normal mom from Canada that has had a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and sharing that with the rest of the Canadian children. And I plan on wearing it all the time.
I'd love to, you know, complete the circle. Turn up at schools wearing my flown spacesuit with my space book, and you know, talking to Jane, age 10, saying, "Start your space book because you're going to Mars." You know, the kids that we'll be talking to are going to Mars. They literally are. So they'll think that ours was a humble little jaunt compared to what they're up to. But I'd like that the next generation to start their space books. Obviously, it wouldn't be a physical thing, but yeah.
No need for handwriting, I guess.
Good God, no. Good God, no.
But you know, I hope we'll see these spacesuits in a lot of classrooms.
Mine is going to get a lot of airtime.
Okay, we're drawing towards an end now, but I would like for both of you to just give some final thoughts to everybody here and online. You know, this is an exciting time. You've both said to me separately, actually, God, Stephen, this is getting real. You know, and so thoughts on that, excitement for what comes next.
This past 10 years, like I was alluding to earlier, has been amazing. So to actually have it become a reality in the very short future is mind-blowing. Above all of that, I would just like to take the opportunity to thank the thousands of men and women who have been a part of this journey and have dedicated their careers and their lives to making this possible. And without that, we wouldn't be here. And I salute you, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you.
That's for Mike. Yeah, I can't follow that. You know, it's for Mike. To be a part of Virgin Galactic community makes you a very patient person. In everyday life, I'm the least patient person I know. I'm terrible. Having to wait for things is a nightmare. But when it comes to Galactic, I can wait. And I have the patience of a saint, as we all do when it comes to Galactic. And so the reason I do is because we keep having stages, and here's another stage, and each of these stages takes us closer. And up until now, perhaps we've not been participating in these stages. We've watched Spaceship 2 go to space. We've watched it from a distance. And now we're participating. We're participating in the creation of the suit, but it's physically tangible now. We're going. And to be able to touch the suit is equivalent to touching the spacecraft for the first time. So it's tangible. It's a new stage that we're involved in, and we're closer still, but we're still patient. We can wait.
Thank you. Big round of applause, please, for Jen and for Trevor. Thank you so much for joining us today, guys. Thank you very much. Okay, that almost brings us to the end, but I would just finally like to invite George Whitesides, known I'm sure to most of you, if not all of you, the CEO of Virgin Galactic and the spaceship company, to say some final words. We need two staircases.
Okay, we're on the home stretch, everybody. Thanks a lot. I think the main thing that I just wanted to share was thanks to everyone for being here. This is a really historic day for Galactic. We've obviously got an amazing constellation of things that have been happening this year, from moving our team down to Spaceport America, to moving the space system, starting to move the space system down to the spaceport, to the amazing transaction that we've got going on with IPOA. But most of all, I just wanted to thank Kevin and Nick and all the folks at Under Armour, because, you know, what they did was they sort of, you know, they took a leap, and they did it not just because it was exciting and I think commercially exciting, but they're really building something for the future. And I think, you know, if we go forward 100 years, Kevin, we're going to see your suit in museums, you know, of the first commercial space suit. And you know, that's a really amazing thing, and it wouldn't have happened without your commitment and your early initiative to just say, you know, let's do this. And what your team has created, Nick and everybody else, all the amazing designers and technologists have created, is something that I think will stand the test of time. And as Trevor said, I think that phrase was just amazing. This is like touching the spaceship in a way. It's touching a physical object that will go to space with you. And so that is a powerful moment. And really something that we can all, I think, be proud of. I want to also thank Richard for his commitment and his dedication. You know, I think no one's had greater patience than him, and we're getting really, really close now, folks. And this is a sign of what a moment. I want to thank the amazing team. We have a live stream going on to our employees in Mojave and New Mexico and London and New York and DC. I want to thank all of them for their amazing work, so those of you who are out there. And then finally, I want to thank the wonderful models, and in particular, I don't even know what the right word is, but the sky dancers. Weren't they amazing? I mean, that was the most incredible thing that I think I've ever seen. Wow, just incredible, and what a great way to initiate this all. So we're going to close the ceremony for today. We'll have a series of interviews now. I'm going to ask Alana to come up to give a sort of a final thing, but I really want to just thank you all for being here and for being part of a historic day. So over to Alana.
Hi everyone. Yeah, it's just a quick one for what happens next. So we do have a group of buses that are going to be outside, and they're just going to be going in shifts. But for those of you who have interviews, we do have a couple of rooms off to the side here. But while you're waiting, we have a press room just in the back. So we've got some refreshments, and you can take a seat and work as needed. But otherwise, as you're ready to leave, just let one of the members of staff know, and we'll get you on one of those buses. But in the meantime, we've got about 20 minutes so that you can come have a look at the suits up close and personal. Thanks.